Hello, everyone. This is Barbara Moore for Catch Your Breath 60. Welcome to our broadcast today. I hope we're going to enjoy this. This is our last tea time of January 2020. Can you imagine that already 1/12 of the year has passed? Hi, Sandra. Thank you for joining us today. I cannot believe how fast time goes. It's just a blur for us, right? And so this is testimony to how fast this year is going to fly by. We are already at the last tea time for January 2020. So we're moving along towards spring, and that's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. I'm counting the days down on my Catch Your Breath Facebook page, and I think we're down to close to 50 now. So it's really, really exciting. It seems to me like the light, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you for joining us today, Susan. Susan will be going down to Florida next week and enjoying all the sunshine. Susan, please bring some back for us, okay? We need some nice warm weather as soon as we can possibly get it. So before we get into the broadcast today, I want to remind everybody that this page is a public page. It is not a private group that you're used to attending on Facebook, where only the people who are in the group can read the comments. These comments are broadcast throughout Facebook, and it's how I inform people of what's going on. And anybody can come in here and comment or see the comments that you are writing. So I want you to keep that in mind before we go forward, okay? I don't want any confusion over this being a private page. It is not a private page. If you have COPD or any kind of chronic illness that requires you to exercise to stay healthy, I would definitely refer you to a page called COPD Exercise to Healthy Living. It's an excellent website run by two fabulous ladies. And hi, Gwen, how are you today? And they will keep you abreast of what you need to be doing. They give you lots and lots of ideas, lots and lots of time and comments and so forth to encourage you to get exercising and mobile every single day. Hi, Deborah Weber, how are you today? So this month we've been talking about journaling. And if anybody is following my page or if you had a look, oh, Sandra, you're bragging. Sandra says it's 75 in Southern California. Join COPD Exercise to Healthy Living. For those of us that are on this side of the world, it's very, very cold out. We're getting snow and a mixture of snow and rain and lots of wind, and it's very, very difficult to get some exercise done outside. In fact, you know, this is the time of year that we really get a lot of cabin fever. And we only tend to be going on out of the house when we absolutely and totally need it, which means for a doctor's appointment or something, right? So when I spoke to the doctor last month, I asked him for another kick at the can of Resp Rehab. So Gwen, you know, get your name down there and come with me. I will be going to St. Joe's for respiratory rehab sometime later this year. I have no idea when. But I have to go down to the hospital tomorrow to meet the doctor who is doing the evaluation for admission into respiratory rehab. So we all have heard about the coronavirus that seems to be getting a little bit more popular. And there was a admission to St. Catherine's Hospital today. They thought, and St. Catherine's is not very far from where I am, and they thought it was coronavirus, but it turns out it's not. So, hi, Carol. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Cindy. So that was good news, but we do have 2 cases in Toronto. Of course, they're both related, husband and wife. And I know that there's been a few cases in California. So be ever vigilant, right, when you're going out. Make sure that you're washing your hands. And for this virus, the doctors are saying that masks don't work and that you cannot get rid of the virus with antibacterial gels. So you have to really, really, really be careful about washing your hands, not touching your mouth and your nose, and staying away from people who are very, very ill. So, we don't know what this is, and we hope that it's not going to be a SARS epidemic. We had this in Ontario several years ago. It's called a capital S, capital A, capital R, capital S. And I can't for the life of me remember what those initials are for. But all you'd have to do is type it in and say Ontario, Canada, and you would get all the information that you need to know about SARS. It was a very, very scary time for us in Ontario because it was rampant through all the hospitals, right? So I hope that this isn't, I'm praying that this is, that, we're just overreacting about this illness. So anyways, we started out January, we were talking about journaling, and I think it's such a great time of the year to start a journal. It's, a chronological journey of your chronic illness and how you managed it. And you might be surprised, or your kids might be surprised, or your grandchildren might be surprised at looking back at this years from now and seeing how barbaric the treatments were and what we had to go through to survive COPD. Very many of these stories have been told by grandchildren. We were watching one the other night on Netflix, and this grandson told the story about his grandfather. It went right through the whole movie. It was pretty interesting, right? So you never know who's going to be interested in your journal and reading about your chronological journey. One thing that you will benefit from by keeping a journal is keeping your doctor's appointments straight, keeping your ailments straight, finding out what are the things that trigger your worsening of symptoms or exacerbation, and tracking those down in your book so that you can have some control over your chronic illness. The thing about COPD is that we are all with the same disease, much, much different than the next person. And so for those of us who have COPD, we have to learn to advocate for ourselves. And one of the ways that we advocate for ourselves is by charting the way that they do in the hospital, charting, writing it down. As I said in the beginning of this broadcast, we're at the end of January already. And Christmas seems like it was like a lifetime ago away. And so if you haven't journaled your month, you have lost all of that information. I journal every day, and I have been doing it for some time. Actually, if you saw my videos that I posted on my Facebook page throughout this week, you will see that I started bullet journaling when I was in the hospital, when I first had an exacerbation, and I was in rehab, and they taught us how to do it. Now, the way that I journal is not exactly the way that they taught us to do it. I have learned many, many different strategies and watched many, many videos and YouTube on Pinterest, and watched very many blogs to get, the strategies down that I need to keep me satisfied in the information that I'm keeping. So a couple of the things that that we talked about was picking a book, and picking a book is kind of the fun part, right? Because you have to go to the store and buy yourself something. But you can use any kind of book. It can be a dollar store book, or it could be a book from chapters that, I paid up to $40 for my book. But you can use any book that suits you. You can use any pen that suits you too, but there are better pens out there. And one of the reasons for picking a proper journal book is that the ink doesn't go through the pages. You never get bleeding of ink. One of the reasons to pick a really, really good pen is because good pens don't bleed, and they don't leave nibs and stuff on the paper, and it keeps your paper nice and neat. So we talked about setting up our journal with a reward on the inside cover for anybody who finds it if we should happen to lose it. Setting up an index, numbering your pages. It's important that we have the pages numbered, and we only have to do them like probably 20 or 30 at a time, if your hands get tired. But as you get up to the pages that are not numbered, you need to keep going. And I find this really, really good because if I'm looking for something, I can go to the index. And this allows us to write an index, right? Or to create an index. And I can always go to the index and find out like where that month started, where did the month of July start, and kind of go there when I know what I'm looking for. Once you have your pages numbered, beside where the pages are numbered or just around where the pages are numbered, your pages that you write on should always be dated. Because you would be surprised at how much time passes and you don't realize how long ago that was. And if you're looking for a specific incident that happened on January 15th, your grandson's birthday, then you will easily be able to go back to that day and find out what happened or read about what happened. So numbering your pages and dating your pages is a really, really good habit to get into. We left about 30 pages at the beginning of our book before we started on the actual daily trackers and triggers and trackers. So we did that because we put things in like, who are you going to call, where you can list your phone numbers. When did I last? So that you can keep track of things like cleaning out the fridge and changing the batteries in your alarm clock. We made a list of doctor's appointments. When did we last see this doctor? When did we last see that doctor? The reason why we went and what the results were, maybe just a brief description of what happened. So we leave about 30 pages because as you continue with your journaling career, you're going to say, gee, I wish I'd put this in the front of the book. And so leaving about 30 pages gives you lots of room to put some pages in there, right? Then once we're finished all that, we get into our daily layout, our daily layouts. So daily layouts are exactly as you want them to do. So remember that this is your journal. This is your bullet journal, your chronological journey. And whatever you need to track will be in your book. So you can set it up in any way that you want to. And if you can't figure out how to set it up, go on YouTube and have a look at some videos. I have on Pinterest a whole board on bullet journaling, how to do it and everything, right? And some people can get really, really fancy with it. Me, yeah, not so much. I really don't. I'm not really artistic very much at all. One of the things that you will leave in the front of your book is your medications. So that when because you're always taking your journal to your doctor to let him read what's going on and to show him the evidence-based proof of what happened and why. So you will always have your medication in your book. And it's a really, really good idea to keep the medication list. Either ask the pharmacy for a printout of your medications or just write them down as you get them, the milligrams that you take and how often you take them. Very easy. So that just stays at the beginning of your book, and it doesn't really have to change very much. But as your prescriptions change, you can change that page. So the things that I do, and I do it in kind of a chart form, is my exercise routine. So my exercise routine is broken down into three spots. Or three types. One is cardio, which is my legs, and I'm always pedaling on my pedaler, and I talk about it quite a bit. My pedaler, it's really my main source of exercise. So I can do all of my lower body, which involves cardio, and get my heart rate up and so forth with my pedaler. And I do that for about 40 minutes a night, and I usually do it while the news is on, to tell you the truth. Once I'm done that and we've finished supper, I take my pedaler and I put it up on a counter, and then I do my upper body. So you can do the same thing with the pedaler for your upper body that you can for your lower body, right? So it's not an all-encompassing, but it's a really good way to kind of build up those muscles in your upper body, because that's really our goal. And the third set of exercises is my breathing exercises. So I always keep a chart of what I do because it gives me a sense of satisfaction once I've done these things, right, Sandra? Once we're done our exercises, this is why people are always going to COPD, exercise to healthy living, and they're bragging about what they do because they have a sense of satisfaction over getting this done. And I absolutely and totally enjoy hearing what everybody does. Some people are very, very good and can get a lot more done. The thing is that you have to keep in mind is that your only competition is you. So I track the steps that I do, the distance that I went, and the time that I spent exercising my lower body, my upper body, and my breathing exercises. And I keep track of what I do and how often I do it. One of the things that I can gain from this, and one of the ways that I can gain information from this stuff that I put into my journal, is I can see when I have really bad days and I'm thinking, oh, I must not have been feeling well, or I must have been really busy that day, right? So how can I, instead of doing every second day, how can I incorporate a little bit every day so that, you're more, it's more unique throughout the week instead of, having high days and low days. I can tell when I believe that exercise at night does keep you awake, so it's not a really good idea to be doing it too late in the day, depending on what time you're going to bed. I find that 6 o'clock really works for me, and I don't know why, but I can exercise from 6 to 8, and that really makes me feel good. It burns all the energy off from from my day of working, and it relaxes me for a night. So you have to find your own sweet spot, and monitoring this information will help you do that. The next information that I track is my weight. I have to weigh myself every morning. I know it's really discouraging. It's horrible for us ladies, especially once we've been on puffers for a little while. We've all seemed to gain a few pounds here and there, and it's no matter how much. You'll notice that doctors don't really hound you about getting it off because it's impossible when you're on steroids. But the reason why I have to weigh myself every day is because we need to know how much water I've gained overnight. How much water have I gained overnight? Because I am in heart failure, so I have to make sure that I don't gain too much. And I have certain medications that I take when my weight is up and when my weight is down. I can also compare my weight to how much exercise I can do, right? How much I can do throughout. When my weight is really, really high, I always see that my exercise is down, right? Hi, Alyssa. The third thing that I check is the temperature outside. Because it's been determined that my COPD is gravely affected by the weather, I always make sure that I'm checking the weather outside. So every day I have an app on my phone, and as I'm doing my weight and my exercise from the day before, I select the temperature outside. I'm always watching for the temperature outside. I check the humidity, what the humidity inside and what the humidity outside is. Perfect humidity should be 40%. That's, according to Google, that is our perfect humidity point. But we very, very, very seldom stay on that. Usually in the house you can, and my air conditioner keeps it at 40, but humidity goes up and down. In southern Ontario, we are surrounded by 5 Great Lakes, and so that makes our weather pretty humid all the time. Hi, Valerie. The app that I have tells us how much dander is outside in your particular area. This is really interesting for those of us with COPD because very often when the dander is high, they will tell you to stay inside. They tell you to stay in the house. And so monitoring your dander is a really good thing to do if you can get an app with that on it. The next thing that we look at is our barometer. And the barometer has a certain, our barometer should be about 130. So we know that if it's higher, it's very, very hot. And if it's lower, we're probably going to get rain. I'm sure that the barometer tells you much more, but I really have never actually learned to read it. I I just, from recording what the barometer says, I know what a good barometer reading is for me. And the last thing that I check is air quality. So air quality is so important. We know now that COPD is not just caused from smoking. It's caused from a combination of a lot of other things. Hi, Barbara. It's caused from a combination of a lot of other things. And one of those things is the air quality and poor pollution. So for me, I live in Southern Ontario and I live in Hamilton, and we are known as the Steel City. So all my life there was huge industry in this city. All of my husband, my brother, and my brother-in-laws, they all worked at Stelco. It was the main source of our being able to provide a good life for our kids. But it came with drawbacks, and one of those was the pollution that it caused in the environment, right? And it's really funny because Stelco has, all steel has decreased. All steel production has decreased, and Hamilton was not left out of that. And we are one of the places that saw a decrease in the steel industry. And as soon as that started happening, people would comment on how much better the air was to breathe. It's funny that the dust in the environment and the dander in the environment and the poor air qualities definitely contribute to our COPD. And Alyssa says she's having work done in her home, and the dust these last couple of days has been really tough. Alyssa, are you wearing a mask at all? Is there any kind of a mask that you can put on to kind of eliminate some of the smaller particles, right? It's really tough, but one of the things that, a good CPAP or BiPAP mask that is a full face mask really does save you from a lot of that. But if it's in the environment, it's, you have to work, Lisa, to get that cleaned up. Perhaps hiring a kid or somebody to get it cleaned up a little bit, or telling your contractors to be a little bit more careful about your breathing. So once I've finished all of the things, hi Elaine. Oh, did you like Hamilton? So Elaine says that her son was in Hamilton the other day. I hope he liked it. I hope everybody was nice to him. Hamilton's a beautiful city. Good for you, Elisa. So once I'm done my trackers and what I need to track, and when I've decided that I'm satisfied with what I need to track, then I set up little boxes for each day, right, and what's going to happen. I also have goals that I want to achieve for the week and goals that I want to achieve for the month. Because we all need goals, right? We all need some reason to get out of bed in the morning. We all need something to do. And for a ton of us, we've lost our ability to earn money, and doing a hobby or having something to do that could make you some money on the side would be really, really nice. So I try to take care of my goals. I try to track my gratitude, and every day that I wake up, I try to find something to be grateful for. Being grateful means that you appreciate the blessing of each day. And only those who have been denied that benefit would know how horrible it was not to wake up full of gratitude every day. So every day I write down what I'm grateful for, and sometimes I do it on a monthly basis. And I do a sun, and then the rays that come out of the sun. On each of the rays, I do 30 of them, and on each of the rays, I write what I'm grateful for. And those are great months, right? You can go back and kind of read, and then I track any appointments that I have, right? Any appointments that I have coming up, anything that's going on that's really important, anything that I have to be aware of, get ready for, whatever I need to remember goes into my journal. And when I'm busy and when my day's going on And I have to remember things all over my journal, and I'll jot it down for the next day to remember, or the next day after that, right? So, your journal is your journal. It is private and confidential, and that's one of the reasons why we have a ribbon on it, so that nothing is mistakenly exposed that you don't want to be exposed. It's your journal. It's what you're writing. It's your chronological journey. I hope that you had a look at some of the journals. I have a 10-part series on YouTube, and I put them up on my page last week. I hope you had a look at them. They're just 2 and 3 minute little videos, right? But it really helps you to kind of get going. And remember that all the bullet journals that you can look at on YouTube and everything else, the one that I've done is specific to my illness and to my chronological journey. You have to decide what you want to put in your journal, and what things are important for you to track along your journey. Remember that I have a beautiful Pinterest page with tons of boards for COPD, and it is under Catch Your Breath 60. Follow me on Instagram or Twitter, and definitely on this site on Facebook. This site this page it's going like fire. So I have about 970 followers joining on this page that are constantly engaging with me all the time. I would like to thank each and every one of you for leaving comments and for encouraging some really good motivation between your community and your COPD. This is Barbara Moore, inviting you to follow me. I will be signing off today, and we'll be back in February. Have a great week.